Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. If you feel like your life is a little bit chaotic with multiple kids, let me tell you about how my evening went down with my kids tonight. So my husband hasn't been feeling well. He's down with some bug, and I'm recovering from one. So after dinner, I told him to lay down and go rest. And I said, you know what? I'll take care of the kids. And I'll tell you something. When you have multiple kids, there is a level of chaos that does exist. Even though you can do everything you can from your perspective that is in your control to make more peace and calm in your home, to have more order, there is still a level of chaos just that exists because you have kids and humans that have different personalities and their own kind of energy that comes from them. And so here's what was happening. I went to the restroom. I come back out. My oldest one is packing lunches. He is like making annoying noises. I don't know about you, but if you have a boy who's like preteen, I don't know what it is with them, but they make a lot of annoying noises. They just do. I don't even remember what he was saying, but it was something ridiculous that was just crazy annoying. And then he was playing with butter knives, making lots of noise. My middle boy, was riding around the house on a skateboard. My youngest I told him to vacuum up the floor. because, the floor needed to be, swept. So he had this, handheld vacuum. He had that thing on, but he was literally just running around the house with it. My youngest daughter, who is 20 months old at the time, she was butt naked and she was just chasing her brother, who had a little vacuum, screaming in Russian, "Die," which means "give it to me." And so all of this happening at the same time as my husband laying down to rest because he's not feeling well. And I'm like full on duty. And all I could do was just like giggle, because if you look at this chaos just like from an outsider, it just seems so crazy. It's silly. And it reminded me of this movie. Maybe you've heard about it. I'm sure you've seen it, like so many people have, but it's called Yours, Mine, and Ours. And it's about these two families who lost their spouses that were widows, and they got married, but both of them had really big families. And the husband, he had multiple kids, but they were all kind of like, everything was so orderly and organized. And he married into a family with this one lady who adopted lots of kids, but everything was super crazy and chaotic, and it was super messy and insane, and kids running around and going wild. And it literally just reminded me of like a scene from that movie when kids were going wild. And that's what I walked into back in the kitchen after I went to use the restroom. It was just a little wild, a little crazy, and I just thought about it. Like, there is a level of chaos that does exist when you have children. So I know there's a lot of tips I teach here in this podcast about how to create more peace and calm and order in your home. And you can definitely implement that. What I want to say is that I am teaching you things to kind of reduce chaos. I don't think you can ever completely eliminate a level of chaos when you have children in your house, because that's just comes with territory when you have little ones, and they have their own personality. They have their own emotions and feelings and needs and wants and desires, and combine all of that in under one roof. It's a lot. And so just keep that in mind whenever I teach you all these things. It's not like I will teach you to completely eliminate that out of your life. That's not really possible. Okay, my friend, before we get into the actual episode and what I want to teach you today, I want to tell you something. Are you a mom who struggles with mom guilt? Are you consumed with negative thoughts, especially after losing your cool with your kids? Do you feel like you're the worst mom in the world, that your kids are going to hate you for life, that you're traumatizing your kids, that maybe you're not even meant to be a mom? Listen up. I have this training that I put together specifically for you. It's happening on April 25th at 12:30 Eastern Time, and I will be teaching for 1 hour to you specifically on mom guilt and overcoming mom guilt from a faith-based perspective, okay? Because these thoughts are not from God. They are from the enemy. He wants you to stay stuck in this mom guilt mode because it is affecting you negatively, mentally and emotionally. He wants you to stay there. He wants you to feel like you're a bad mom. So what do we do with that? Where do those thoughts come from? How can we overcome those thoughts with a faith-based perspective and practical mindset tools? So this training is for you. I'd love to see you there. It's going to be so transformational. So if you're struggling with severe mom guilt and it's completely consuming your life and you feel like you're the worst mom in the world, that you're not even meant to be a mom, trust me, you need to be in this training. I will see you there, my friend. All right, let's get into the episode. Today we'll be talking about what you can do to create time for yourself. I know that's something that I do teach my mamas, is that you're not going to find time for yourself. You're going to have to create it intentionally, especially if you are a mom and a stay-at-home mom. It feels like when I'm at home with my kids, let's say on the weekend, or like when they don't have school for a day and I'm home with them all day, I feel like I'm just going all day. I have to create that time for myself. And I will talk to you about things that you can do. I'll go up to like 8 different ways that you can create time for yourself. Some of them incorporate other people and asking for support, and other things like even if you don't have that support available, because sometimes I don't. And here's the thing, our family moved from Minnesota to Florida last summer, and I don't have any family here. I don't have anyone that I trust to be with my kids besides my husband. I'm just kind of on my own, and I am in a position where I can't hire help at the moment. And so I'm just kind of the way that we are right now, and I have to make it work. And I will teach you things that you can do to take care of yourself and to create alone time for yourself. And then what do you do in that alone time? That's like a whole nother thing. So here's the thing. So many moms feel guilty for wanting and needing alone time. I want to remind you that Jesus created alone time for himself. I was just reading this week how Jesus, he would remove himself from the crowd, and he would go to a desolate place by himself and pray to God, to reconnect with God. He did that regularly because of the needs that were from other people that were constantly pulling at him and needing him, and he was helping so many people. He needed that time to connect with God, to recharge, and to refill himself with God and connection with him, but just like recharge because he was also a fully human, right? Just to recharge as a human. Like, we have limits on how much we can give. And so here are going to be a few things that I'll be teaching you today that you can do if you're running on empty. So if you feel guilty for wanting alone time, I want to remind you that you are a human. You have limits. You have a limited capacity of energy, and it needs to be replenished. And if you wait until you are completely running at empty, that's when you're overreactive and burnout mode, and you feel like alone time is never enough. That is one of the reasons, I've had multiple mamas actually message me. They're like, it doesn't matter how much alone time I get, I feel like it's never enough. And the problem is because you wait until you get on empty to get alone time. If you're constantly replenishing yourself on a regular basis and doing practices regularly, daily, multiple times a week to create that time for yourself, you won't really get to a point where you feel like never enough alone time, because you're constantly creating it for yourself. And here's what we'll be talking about today. Here's what I do. And this one I talked about before many times, and I'll say it again. If you are in a season where your kids sleep through the night, get up before your kids. Get up before your kids, if at all possible. If you don't want, I'm not talking about someone who works night shifts and, crazy hours, but if you are a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and your kids sleep through the night, and if maybe if you're a working mom, or work from home mom, I would highly encourage you to get up before your kids in the morning and create some space for yourself, to center yourself, to ground yourself, to pray, to connect with God, to just maybe meditate, sit in silence, have your coffee and breakfast in silence. Just be by yourself. I've had multiple episodes on this topic. It is so crucial. It's good for your nervous system. It's good for your stress response. It is so good for you to start your morning off slow instead of jumping and going reactive. So getting up before your kids in the morning, I prefer an hour before my kids. I find that is a perfect time for me to get myself breakfast, go use the bathroom, sit down and read and pray. And that's enough time for me before my kids get up. But, depending on your season in life, but I need at least an hour for myself. My kids go to bed at a reasonable hour. And we'll talk about that on another point. But my kids get up around 7 in the morning. And so it works out for me. When my kids would get up earlier before me in the morning, I would either give them an activity to do, or I would send them back to bed. I would tell them they can lay on my bed or they can lay on their bed. They could listen to a podcast. They could listen to music. They could color. They could read, but they have to stay quietly. If they're super hungry, I guess they could grab a snack, but they have to stay quiet until 7 o'clock because it's mama's alone time. And I will mention this in another tip, but I use a visual timer with my kids. You can get it on Amazon. They're like $20, but they're totally worth it for little ones because they can see how much time is left. But that's something that I would recommend. Get up before your kids in the morning. Number 2 is you can trade sitters with a friend or a neighbor, or somebody that you trust, maybe a sister or sister-in-law. If you can watch their kids for a little bit, they can watch your kids for a little bit, maybe every other week or something like that. But that gives you some time, maybe a couple hours every other week for yourself to have some alone time. And I need you to be intentional with that. This is not time for you to catch up with housework and run errands. This is time for yourself to recharge, to do something that fills you up. And I'll give you some ideas at the end, things that you can do to fill up your own cup, but that is something actually requires, I think, trial and error. You just try different things and see what truly fills you up, what makes you feel better mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And sometimes I combine all of them at once and it feels really good. Okay. So number 3 is asking grandparents to watch the kids. So when we lived in Minnesota, I asked my mother-in-law once a week, she would watch my 2 younger ones for a couple hours while I got some stuff done. I use that time specifically to work, to get focused work done for my business, but you could use that time for yourself. You can go get your nails done, go grab some coffee with a friend or something like that. That will refill you up and allow you to have some alone time for yourself. Grandparents typically, in general, love to watch their grandkids for a couple hours. And if you agree upon like a specific, every Wednesday, from 10 to noon or something like that or whatever, that might be a really good one for you. I don't have that option here, but I used it in Minnesota when I had it. And then once in a while, my mom would take the kids over for a sleepover. That was awesome because she would take them for a night, sometimes even 2 nights. And that would give some time for my husband and I to reconnect and also have some alone time as well. Number 4 is get a gym membership. When I used to live in Minnesota, I don't do that now, but in Minnesota, we had a gym called Lifetime, and it was a pricey gym, but it came, if you add on your children to the membership, it came with 2.5 hours of childcare 7 days a week. At that time, pre-COVID, it was like $12 per kid for the month, and you get 2.5 hours a day. And I totally used that. I used that a lot. And I went to that gym probably 5 days a week. And I used some of that time to work on my business. I used some of that time to work out. I used some of that time to literally just go sit by a pool and journal and read. I used some of that time to go to a sauna. Sometimes I would get together with a friend because I could bring a guest once a month, and then we would sit in the coffee shop and chat while our kids are in childcare. It was absolutely awesome. Totally, totally, totally worth it for me in that season of my life. So if you are in a place where you can afford it and you live near a gym where it has some sort of membership like that, I would encourage you to look into it. I know sometimes mamas have a hard time trusting other people watching their kids, but I would encourage you to try it out and see what it's like. And maybe you're really, really going to like it and your kids are not going to hate it. This might be exactly what you need to help you to get that alone time for yourself, to create that time for yourself. Okay, number 5, ask your spouse. Communicate that you need support. I do this a lot. I really don't have other options. Around here where I live, my husband is my support system here. And so we tag team a lot. We take turns, and he's an introvert, I'm an introvert. And so we take turns having alone time and communicating when one of us is struggling and we need some time for ourselves. Like Friday night is my bath night. And he puts the kids to bed and I take a bath. It's time for myself. We agreed on that. We communicated that. That is just something that is really, really crucial in relationships, and be like, hey, I've noticed that I need a little bit extra, more alone time. How can we create that? I need your support. Is there anything that we can work in our schedule for me to have some time for myself, maybe once a week, to get out of the house and just on Wednesday nights and just, have you put the kids to bed and I will just go to a coffee shop and just sit by myself or something like that, or go for a walk, or get together with a friend, whatever it might be, or go to a book club or something for yourself, for your own mental and emotional sanity. And I would encourage you, if you have a spouse, to have this conversation outside of a heated moment. Oftentimes we bring this up when we're already frustrated and triggered and it never goes well. So bring this conversation up and use the terms like, I need your support. Would you please help me out? How can we make this work? And I would love to support you as well. So it's not just like one-sided. So it's both-sided. So I would encourage you to try that. Okay. Number 6 is creating quiet time in the afternoon with your little ones. Listen, mama, if you have little kids and they don't nap anymore, you can still have them do quiet time. Guess what? I have an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 20-month-old. My little one naps, but the rest of my kids don't. And on the days that they're home from school, we all have quiet time in the afternoon when my baby naps. My boys all have quiet time. I separate them in different parts of the house. They have some activities that they do quietly by themselves. It's either magnet tiles or puzzles or Legos, something that they can do quietly by themselves. They alternate. We have one iPad and they will alternate taking turns listening to music or to a podcast. And then we have a visual timer that I use with my kids. Like I said, you can get it on Amazon. I'll try to link it below. It's like $20, but it's so worth it. So the kids see that you have this visual timer. They see how much time is left. So they have quiet time for 1 hour. And if they stay quiet for 1 hour, they get to watch screens until my toddler wakes up. And if they keep coming out of their quiet time, then I will add time to their quiet time. So obviously it doesn't always go so smooth. There's things that come up, right? They get bored, they want to play with their sibling and all of that. But this is just kind of like a start. I remember a friend of mine recommended, well, how do you start when you've never done this with your toddler and your toddler's used to never having quiet time? We'll start out with 10 minutes. And one of the things that is hard for toddlers or even kids in general is to start an activity. And in order for them to start an activity, that's the hardest part. So here's a tip. Something that you can do is start an activity with them. So set a timer you can do the visual timer for 5 or 10 minutes and you start playing Legos with them. Or you start playing magnet tiles with them. So you start doing it with them. And after a little while, you say, when the timer rings, this is your alone time and mama's alone time. You get to tell mommy to leave your room. And you say, bye, mama. This is my alone time. I'm talking about like toddlers here. And then you train them, you teach them, you show them how to do that. And then after a while, they're like, it gets kind of exciting for them because when the timer goes off, they're like, okay, bye, mama. This is my alone time. And then you set the timer for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever you start out with. Probably start with 10, 15 minutes. And just make sure it's at a surface where your kids can't reach it, and explain to them that this timer is only for mama to turn, because your kids will turn it too far and they will break it. And it's a $20 timer. Don't ask me how I know. So this is another thing that you can do quiet time in the afternoons. Your kids need that time to decompress, and so do you. And you can use that time to read a book. You can read the Bible. You can exercise. You can do like a hobby, something you like, go gardening, or if you have one, to crochet or sew, whatever you want to do, maybe chat with a friend. I would encourage you to leave the housework during this time, but do something for yourself that will refill you. All right? Okay, so number 7 is put your kids to bed earlier. Here's the thing. When my kids were younger, when our kids... not my kids, our kids, with my husband, when they were younger, we would put them to bed around 7:30. Now that they're older, my oldest is 11. He does not want to go to bed at 7. I can put him down, but he's not going to sleep. He'll stay up till 11 if he could. But my boys, we still get them ready. So the baby goes to bed around 7 and 7:30. And 7:30, she's in bed. And then the boys, we get them ready for bed between 7 and 8. And then around 8, they get inside their bed. And so we'll read and pray with them. But around 8:30, usually that's when I leave their bedroom and they are in bed. And so that allows me to have some time for myself. Depending on the night, sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. Something that does help is having them listen to a podcast, making sure they had a snack and they have their water. Something they can do in bed quietly to draw or read a book or play with Legos or something like that keeps them occupied, less likely to come out. But putting your kids to bed earlier allows you to have some time for yourself. All right, and number 8, my go-to, probably your go-to, and many other parents' go-to is screen time. Having your kids watch TV or do something on an iPad, screen time, so you can have some time for yourself. I've done it many times. The other day, I had a headache. I was not feeling well. I absolutely needed a nap in the afternoon. It was my PMS week. The kids were home for spring break. I had a really tough day. And you know what? Put baby down for a nap. Gave my kids the screens. Didn't even bother with doing the timer thing because I knew at some point they would come and interrupt me. I'm like, you know what? 2 hours of screen time. I'm okay with it. I need this time for myself so I can show up as a better mom. And I gave them the screens, gave them snacks. I said, don't bother me unless the house is on fire or you're like dying. And I took a 2-hour nap. Thankfully, none of them bothered me. And I woke up and I felt so much better. And so use this. I mean, I use screen time with my kids almost every day. We don't have a specific time, like 30 minutes. I normally just use it when I need it to support myself, to make things easier for me, depending on how the morning goes. Sometimes mornings go really smooth and we don't need any screen time. And sometimes things are a little bit crazy and chaotic. And sometimes that's what motivates my boys to get moving and getting ready for school quicker. And I use that as a motivation. Maybe not the best thing, but you know what? It works for me. And so you do what works for you. But we use screens, I guess, on a regular basis to kind of support ourselves and make things easier. I use screens quite a bit in the wintertime in Minnesota. Not so much here in Florida, just because it's nice outside during this time of the year and I can have the kids go play outside. But in the summertime, it is super hot here. And during the day, they're kind of inside. And sometimes I can't handle the noise and the craziness and the chaos that comes when they want to play and just be loud. And so I will turn on screens for them, not just for them, but for my sake, so I can keep my sanity. So that's just like you do you, but I definitely use that as one of the ways to have some time for myself. Okay, so what do you do in that alone time that refills you? I touched on that slightly, but I will mention it again. You can do something that fills you up spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. Okay, so you can move your body, Sometimes I'll have my husband be with the kids in the evening because it's nice here, and I'll go for a walk. Or you can work out, you can pray, you can read the Bible, you can journal, you can read a book. Or sometimes I will journal my prayers to God, or just journal about life and things that are going on in my life, kind of like venting to a friend. You can get together with a friend. You can garden, you can crochet, you can sew, you can do DIY projects, like whatever fills you up. And if you, mama, haven't had any time for yourself, start with just like simple things. Just read the Bible for a little bit. Just sit in silence for a little bit. And I would encourage you not to be on your phone. And speaking of that, tune into my episode later this week on Friday with Sandy Cooper. We'll be talking about getting off social media and how that can actually serve your mental and emotional well-being in motherhood. She will share her story, and I will share kind of my insight on leaving social media for the last couple months, and we'll be speaking on that. And I think you were really going to enjoy the episode. And Sandy's actually a real life friend that we met up. We recorded that episode live together in my house. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. So tune in for that on Friday. I'm super excited to share that with you. Anyways, that is kind of the recap for today. So here are some ways, again, I'm going to go through them again, to create time for yourself to kind of refill your own tank. Is get up in the morning before your kids. Number 2, trade sitters with a friend or a neighbor. Number 3, ask grandparents to watch the kids. Number 4, get a gym membership and see if you can get a childcare over there. Number 5, ask a spouse and communicate your need, and ask your spouse to watch the kids. It's their kid. You deserve to have time for yourself. Number 6, quiet time in the afternoon with the kids. Do a visual timer with the kids. Number 7, put your kids to bed earlier. Number 8, have kids watch, TV or have some screens. And obviously, like this one, I guess I didn't mention because I don't use it, but you can definitely hire a sitter. Number 9, you can hire a sitter for somebody to come and watch your kids. You can definitely do that. All right. So if you are listening here now, I want to remind you about the class again that I will be teaching on April 25th. And it's all about how to overcome mom guilt, the negative thoughts after losing your cool, specifically after you had an explosion with your kids and you feel like you're the worst mom in the world, that your kids hate you for life, that you're not meant to be a mom, maybe that your kids are even better without you, that severe mom guilt that just creeps in and is crippling, and so much remorse, right? That comes after exploding and yelling and maybe screaming or even hurting your kids, okay? I know, I've been there. It's not a fun feeling. So we're going to walk through, how do we overcome that? Where does it even come from? Those thoughts, they're not from God. And how do we use those thoughts to make changes? And what can we do different? So I am so excited for this class. I am putting this together for you. So in the show notes, there's a link to sign up. I can't wait to see you there. Anyways, my friend, thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. Hey mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids, so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.